What's up, guys? Today we're going to learn how to ride a dirt bike. I'm going to teach you a few important fundamentals, the controls of the motorcycle, and how to ride the dirt bike. I want to start with your overall mindset and approach. I encourage you to be open to learning and patient with yourself. This is a lot to learn in a short amount of time. You can do it, but take deep breaths and focus on what you're doing. Alongside with mindset, let's lead that right into vision. Vision is one of our most important fundamentals. So when it comes to actually riding the motorcycle, we need to make sure that we're looking where we want to go and blocking everything else out. If I want to turn to the left, I'm going to look my head, I'm going to turn my head toward the left and my eyes and direct my focus towards the left, and my bike and my body will naturally follow. Think of it as a magnetic force. Where we're looking is going to draw us in that direction. The sharper that we look, the harder that draw is going to be. So you have to look where you want to go. Let's talk about the bike for a little bit. So the most important control on this bike that you need to know about is the clutch on the left-hand side. I encourage you to find this clutch and become really good friends with it. Squeeze it in and out right now. Anytime you're going to have to react or change something that you're doing, you're going to have to lead by pulling in the clutch. So clutch, 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 clutch. Our clutch is what engages the rear wheel and gets us moving forward. So when the clutch is pulled in, we're not moving forward. And when we release the clutch, that's what applies power to the rear wheel and moves us and the bike in the forward direction. I like to say the throttle makes the engine go and the clutch makes the wheel go. Clutch, throttle. Up next, we have the brakes. We have the front brake, which is our hand brake, and our rear brake, which is our foot brake. The way that we use this is we keep the ball of our foot on the foot peg, and we come forward to use the rear brake, and then we come back when we're done using it. So this is what I want you to practice. And practicing it right now while you're sitting on your bike is a really good way to build that muscle memory so that when you need to use the brakes, it's not something all new. So go ahead and get used to this, because when you use that rear brake, I want you guys to keep your head forward looking where you want to go. So I don't want you to have to look down to find your rear brake. So let's practice it right now. Okay, up next, we have the shifter on the motorcycle. That's on the left side of the bike in front of your foot peg. The shifter is attached to the transmission of the motorcycle, which can change gears to allow you to go faster or slower speeds. To get started today, we'll be shifting into first gear. These gearboxes have neutral, which means we're not going anywhere, first gear below that, and then second gear above that. So neutral is halfway in between first and second gear. When we're ready to ride forward, we'll shift down into first gear. When we do this, we'll make sure that we have our clutch pulled in to keep the bike from moving forward. Okay, so back to the shifter. All the way down is first gear. Halfway is neutral. You can tell because you can roll the bike back and forth. And then up another half click from there is second gear. And then we're in second gear. So once again, neutral is halfway between first and second gear. Now that we know about the motorcycle controls, let's talk about how to ride it. So first off, let's get you in the right riding position. We want to start by sitting forward on the seat so that we're up close to the handlebars and our elbows are at about a 90-degree angle. We want to basically make a rectangle or a diamond with our elbows to our bars and our chest. That's what's going to make us the strongest on the motorcycle. Also, if our arms are back here and we're all stretched out, it's much harder for me to let off the throttle. This is called whiskey throttle. Yeehaw, we don't want that. So let's stay forward on the bike and keep control of this bike. Another great way to get whiskey throttle, which we don't want, is to come to a stop using your feet. If I want to come to a stop and I drag my feet, you'll notice what happens is my butt comes off the seat and the bike will slide out from underneath me. And now all of a sudden, ooh, I don't want to let go. I hold onto the bike, boop, whiskey throttle. We're going for a flying W. We're gonna shoot this thing off to the moon. We're gonna ride until we hit a house. We're gonna go hit a cactus. We're gonna loop out. We're gonna end up on YouTube. It's not gonna be good. Let's stay forward. Stay in the pocket. Okay? So here's our neutral position. And as I give it throttle, or as I move the bike forward, I'm gonna offset that with a little forward lean. Bop, bop, bop. See what I'm saying? We're gonna move forward with the bike, and when we come to a stop, we're gonna offset that with a little back pressure. Boom. We're gonna bring that bike to a stop. And we're gonna stay sturdy, and we're not going to collapse. Boom, right here. Another thing, another reason why we wanna sit forward on the bike, or at least neutral, middle of the seat. Once I move my butt to the back of the bike, you see the bike goes down a bunch in the back, and it comes up in the front. That's gonna make our front end very light. So if we wanna turn, our front end is gonna slide out. And if we have good grip and we make the turn, we're gonna wheelie coming out of it because we have too much weight on the back of the motorcycle. So to maintain balance throughout the chassis of the bike, we want to sit more neutral or forward on the seat. To recap the controls on the motorcycle, we'll be learning about the clutch, the throttle, the brakes, both front and rear, and shifting. Enough talking, let's go riding. Here's how we ride a beginner trail bike. This is a TTR 125. Once again, clutch, front brake, throttle, kill switch, start button. Here's your ignition. You want to make sure that's on. And to get the bike warmed up, we're going to pull up on this choke, hit the starter button. Sometimes a little bit of throttle is required to help get these bikes running. Just a teeny bit. With all of our controls, we want to be very smooth. Very smooth with the throttle, smooth with the brake, and smooth and patient with the clutch. Once the bike is warm, we want to keep the bike running. These bikes are cold-blooded, and a lot of times they'll stall out on their own. Once we're ready to ride, we're going to pull in the clutch, shift into first gear, and let that clutch out ever so slightly until you start to feel that bike move forward. Once you're there, you can pull that clutch right back in and roll to a stop. You can go ahead and let that clutch out again. Feel that engagement point, come back. Notice I'm never dumping the clutch. I'm never letting it all go. I'm just being very smooth and deliberate with my clutch. Smooth. Roll a little bit further forward. And eventually, you can let that clutch all the way out. Now we're just rolling with the bike, idling. At this point, you can put one foot on if you'd like. And if you go a little faster, it'll be easier to balance. So let's start to give it just a tiny little bit of throttle. And once we're rolling, we can lift our feet up. Eyes focused ahead to keep our balance. And when we want to come to a stop, we're going to pull in that clutch, let off the throttle, pull in the clutch, and roll to a stop. When we want to take off again, we release the clutch, and now since we're a little better, we can give it just a little bit of throttle with the clutch. As the bike starts to move forward, we can give it throttle, and that will help give us more power on the takeoff. Once you're ready to shift, so what you're going to do to shift is you're going to pull in the clutch, get your toe under your shifter, lift up, release, continue forward. And that's how you ride a dirt bike. I hope this lesson gives you a fundamental understanding of how the motorcycle works and how we ride it. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Remember to wear your helmet and make smart decisions. Have fun and let's go riding.